Hello and welcome to another episode of Bangladesh Today. Today we meet with General Shankar Roychowdhury, former Chief of Army Staff, former parliamentarian and a defence expert. Thank you very much for speaking to us, General. Yes. I'd like to begin by asking you that, your relations or your connection with Bangladesh goes back to 1971 when you were posted there. Could you share some of your experiences with us?
Well, I was not posted there. I was.
Well, yeah, true.
I was the job I had involved dealing with, concerned with Bangladesh during the 1971 war. And I was concerned with the Indian cooperation with the freedom fighters in Bangladesh, who were later to be known as the Mukti Bahini. So I was concerned with various aspects of their training, equipment, operations, which involved accompanying them to various places. And in that sense, I got to know a lot of young Bangladeshis.
This is much before the war, is it? In 71, December is when the
actual war started.
Right. So
there was an undeclared war going on since about March, April, May, June.
So was it a secret operation that you?
Well, it was not publicized. It was not acknowledged by either side. The Pakistanis, of course, were saying that we are crossing into Bangladesh and we are shelling Bangladesh, but we never acknowledged it, and there were incidents happening from both sides.
Right.
So it was a very disturbed situation because there were refugees coming all the time. You must remember that at the time when all this talk was going on, the situation on the ground was extremely fluid. Because there were hordes of refugees coming in.
Right. You must have seen a lot of atrocities taking place.
I've seen the results of atrocities. In the sense, I certainly have seen results of atrocities. The mass migration of the population from Bangladesh into India was a major atrocity by itself. I mean, these people were driven out of their homes after a lot of atrocities on them. They came into India, and India, to its credit, did not hesitate in offering them asylum or security. Sanctuary would be a better word in India.
How many of you went in to train the Mukti Bahini? This was called Operation Jackpot or something,
yes,
right?
Yes, that's right.
And how many of you were there?
There were people there. I would not like to comment on how many,
okay.
But then, yes, there were people.
And there was a lot of motivation on the side of the Mukti Bahini. Were they, did they really look as, an outfit which was ready to fight the Pakistani army?
They were ready to fight, but they were not an outfit, because these were young boys, students, people from the villages who were really, they just came out from behind their plows. They were driven out. They were not at all trained soldiers. But the spirit, motivation, very high.
And how long were you in Bangladesh then?
Well, as I said, the whole declared, undeclared period of uncertainty was from approximately, let me see now, maybe March, April, something like that. We were not inside Bangladesh personally, you're talking at that time. Later on, we used to move back and forth with these people. So that was there.
Can you tell me a little bit about the role that the army plays in Bangladeshi politics? I mean, right since 71, ever since, it came into existence, the army's always been a force to reckon with. Now that democracy has kind of established itself out there, has that threat really gone away of the army taking over?
Difficult to say, because when Sheikh Mujib was alive, he was the dominating influence in Bangladesh. What happened at that time was, there were also a large number of the freedom fighters, large number of them, who were led by former ex-Pak army officers who had come to Bangladesh, like, General Zia,
Khalida Zia and
her
husband Zia-ur Rahman.
Not Parvez Musharraf, Khalid Musharraf. There were others like them, very well-known people, and some of them are still alive, who were really giving the military leadership in the field to the Bangladeshi people. And India was cooperating, and they were working with India. They'd come for succor to India, sanctuary. India did provide them. And then they were working here from India. And later on, a good relationship was established. Later on, of course, there was the internal politics of Bangladesh. I think, personally, I think in retrospect, Sheikh Mujibur Rahman made a very grave error of judgment. That was when the Bengali officers of the Pakistan Army, Navy and Air Force who were interned in West Pakistan, they found themselves in the western part of Pakistan. At the end of the war, when the war was over and the officers from what then became Bangladesh were repatriated back to Bangladesh, and they were very senior figures in the Pakistan military hierarchy. They were there by their... So when they came back to Bangladesh, many people advised Sheikh Mujib at that time that these people are dangerous.
Because they owe their loyalty there.
Their loyalty is still remaining with Bangladesh. Beg your pardon,
Pakistan.
Pakistan Army, really. But Sheikh Mujib, for better or for worse, he said, no, these are people who've come back to Bangladesh. They've come back to serve Bangladesh. So we shall restore whatever, in the existing Bangladesh hierarchy, they will take their places as they were earlier, which I think was an error of judgment, because these were the very people who then rebelled against Sheikh Mujibur Rahman.
But today that batch is over, right? Now you have the current crop of army officers are people who owe their allegiance to Bangladesh. They are Bengali speaking. They have no connections whatsoever. That umbilical cord is gone with Pakistan.
Yes, the present lot of the Bangladesh army is very much Bangladeshi, very highly nationalistic, but at the same time you must also understand that the army is being what it is, leaving the army aside, there is a substantial following of what we would call the Bangladesh National Party, who definitely have umbilical cords with Pakistan, who definitely have. So the army may be apolitical, but it has to function according to the dictates of the government which is in power. Now, the army in the past more or less functioned in the traditions of the Pakistan army from which they came. But having come here, now that the Bangladesh has got its own army, which is trained, equipped, and they operate in Bangladesh, they are from Bangladesh, they do not have any, as you said, umbilical connections with Pakistan. They are a highly patriotic army. Now things are different. And they are now, from all indications, they are like a normal army. They are to serve the government, whoever the government is in power. Now, what is interesting to note would be if the BNP came back to power. How would the army behave then? We do not know. It's a theoretical question to which no one has any answers yet.
And the combination of an army BNP combined?
We don't know. I would not like to be unfair to the army, at least. BNP we know about. What the end result of the combination would be, it is not fair. One should not.
And not very, they've not been very pro-India or leaning towards India in the BNP army combined.
The BNP has never been. The BNP army combined, this army which is now a Bangladeshi army, how that will behave we are yet to see. Though again, to be very fair, the army has to operate according to the political dictates of the government in power then. At present, the Army League government is in power. The army seems to be comfortable with that.
If we were to move on to now India-Bangladesh relations, as you're aware, we've decided on having a relaxation of visa norms. More Bangladeshis would be allowed legally to come into India. Now, that's also come in for a lot of criticism from people because they feel that you won't be able to monitor who all are coming in. As it is, we have a problem of influx. India has a problem of influx of Bangladeshis coming into India. Do you think a relaxation in the visa policy is a positive towards our relationship with Bangladesh?
It's certainly a positive gesture. But then this has to be backed up by a very strict monitoring mechanism. I do not know whether we have got that capability. It's a very friendly gesture to a friendly country, and Bangladesh has certainly been very friendly to us. So this is really a gesture to Sheikh Hasina. I wonder whether this would have taken place had at this time Khaleda Zia been in power. And now we've got to see what the effects will be if and when there is a shift in the political power in Bangladesh.
Because she did come to India recently, and she did seem, to understand that good bilateral relations between India and Bangladesh is for the benefit of Bangladesh too.
She has always been very positive on India-Bangladesh issues. As a matter of fact, there is a substantial constituency back in Bangladesh which feels that Sheikh Hasina has been too cooperative with India.
No, I meant Khaleda Zia. Khaleda Zia was in India recently, and she did seem to understand that what Sheikh Hasina has started has got backing back home, and it would serve even in Khaleda Zia's interest.
When you say back home, you mean Bangladesh?
In Bangladesh,
yes,
yeah.
Bangladesh, yes, Khaleda, our Sheikh Hasina has got, as I said earlier.
So Khaleda Zia pursuing that same policy with, of having a good relationship with India is for the benefit of Bangladesh is something that Khaleda Zia also sees now, doesn't she?
We are yet to see that.
Okay.
We are yet to see that because she's more or less as a private individual, though a leader of a very substantial section of public opinion. Okay. If she says a thing like that, we've got to wait and watch.
There are many who feel that making the India-Bangladesh border, there are some who feel that it's necessary to fence the border, to have more stringent border mechanism. There are others who feel that open borders are really the solution in this century for these kind of problems that are occurring right now of border skirmishes, of violence and things like that, migratory population. So to have open borders, especially with countries which are leaning towards India, is a step forward. Which side would you be on?
Open borders are never a good idea. Borders must be monitored. Borders must be strictly controlled. You can have many more crossing points where the people coming to India legitimately can be checked. But open borders, whether with Bangladesh or with any other country which India has borders, is inadvisable.
Okay, we do have it with Nepal, which is why with Bhutan, with Nepal.
Please, we've got to look at that very carefully. We have got open borders with Nepal, yes, traditionally we have. But I think those borders are now being, more strictly monitored. You've got a border guarding force, which we never had with the SSB from India, is now a border guarding force with Nepal. We never had a border guarding force with Nepal. So, as I said, given the circumstances you just mentioned, open borders are not a good idea, and there is much to be said for that old saying, strong fences make good neighbours.
Here in West Bengal, do you feel that there's a large chunk which sees a kind of a Bengali identity with Bangladesh, or has that ceased to exist now?
There is definitely commonality of culture. The big dysfunction in this common is unfortunately the question of religion. Again, because we are now going into a different field altogether, because I do believe, and people will perhaps not agree with me, that there is a Bengali Islam. Now with that Bengali Islam, there's a lot of commonality with West Bengal. If you take Bengali Islam, there's a lot of commonality with Bengali culture in West Bengal and Bengali culture in Bangladesh. But there is this, certainly there are hardliners in Bangladesh, very hardliners in Bangladesh, particularly as I keep referring back to the BNP, though now you say that Begum Khaleda has said that we need good relations in Bangladesh, fine, we've got to look for it. But there is this element which is behind, I think, the disturbances we've heard about in Bangladesh on the issue of war crime trials.
Thank you very much for speaking with us.
Thank you.